This is the Washington Times front page for Monday, September 12th, 2022. Thanks for starting your week with us. I'm George Gerbo. The United Kingdom will begin a week of public mourning for Queen Elizabeth II with a service of prayer and reflection. Mark Kellner reports St. Giles Cathedral in Edinburgh, Scotland will host an afternoon service to be attended by King Charles III and other family members and dignitaries. The Queen's coffin arrived in Edinburgh Sunday and will lie at rest at the cathedral until Tuesday. Her remains will then be flown to London, where she will lie in state at Westminster Hall before being transported to Westminster Abbey for a state funeral on September 19th. Some of the most violent crimes domestically are carried out by young Americans, and those who deal with youth offenders say the trend won't reverse anytime soon. Jeff Murdoch reports analysts say the rise in juvenile violent crime is caused by several factors, including shuttered schools during the pandemic and soft-on-crime district attorneys who either refuse to press charges or seek lenient sentences. Although there isn't any national data on crimes committed by juveniles, statistics from local jurisdictions point to a rise in violent crime by the group. Local data from Montgomery County, Maryland shows the number of homicide victims and suspects younger than age 21 is up, rising from 2 and 3 respectively in 2021 to 6 and 9 so far in 2022. Speaking of Maryland, Democratic gubernatorial nominee Wes Moore is using his military record and a pro-America agenda to remind voters that Republicans don't hold a monopoly on patriotism. Mika Solner profiles the Army combat veteran and first-time Democratic candidate who says he takes his patriotism very, very seriously. The frontrunner in the governor's race, Moore says he intends to knock down Republican attacks that portray Democrats as anti-patriotic. Alongside running mate Aruna Miller, he's telling voters they will level the playing field, enhance public safety, and change the attitude in their party about embracing American ideals. You can read all of these stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page. You can also find the entire lineup of Washington Times podcasts at WashingtonTimes.com/podcasts. President Biden's speeches denouncing extreme MAGA Republicans have fired up Democrats, but they've also stirred up outrage among conservatives. Whether the rhetoric drives moderate Republicans toward or away from extremist candidates associated with Trumpism, political analysts say Biden has accepted the wager. Susan Ferricchio reports those analysts say Biden's speeches were intended to make the Republican Party appear toxic to voters ahead of the midterm elections. The results of those elections will determine which party controls the House and Senate in the next Congress. Tension is once again on edge in Brazil ahead of the October 2nd presidential election there between President Jair Bolsonaro and former President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. Guy Taylor reports Bolsonaro has consistently trailed da Silva in polls ahead of the election. Brazil is the top trade partner in South America for the United States and the second most powerful economy in the Western Hemisphere. The result of the election could mark either a major gain for or a sharp rebuke of a trend across South America in which leftist candidates have returned to power after a period of right-wing successes. And finally, a Rasmussen poll finds 62% of likely voters believe President Biden was likely involved in business dealings of his son Hunter, while 33% don't think that it's likely the president was involved. Ramsey Touchberry reports 46% of respondents also said they don't think more coverage of Hunter and his dealings would have made a difference in the 2020 presidential election. The poll was conducted August 31st and September 1st among 1,000 likely voters. Find all of today's front page stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page or on the Washington Times app, and find us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Washington Times in your favorite podcast app. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at Wash Times for breaking news, sports, commentary, and more. For the Washington Times, I'm George Gerbo.